Hello, Disney fans. I'm your host, Stephanie, for the classic animated Disney branch of Standard Definition. We all know that we can't have a nostalgia podcast without recording episodes covering the classic Disney hand-drawn animated movies. These Disney movies will be reviewed in release order, starting with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all the way to Princess and the Frog in 2009. I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Corey Derrick. Hello, Corey.
Hello. I'm ready to talk some Bambi.
You sure?
Yes. Did you see the excitement on my face?
Yeah. Yeah, another just favorite of ours, I'm sure. And the very knowledgeable Mark Pereira.
Hello.
How are you guys doing tonight at the end of your weekend?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I had a long actually got to play some games this weekend. Got to just kind of relax, you know? It's been fun.
What's that?
I don't know. Okay. Not like relax, but parent relax, So got to my son helped me with work on Friday. Got taught my nephew how to play Destiny today, so that was interesting. So
big stuff.
Yeah. Good times.
Nice. Mark, you mentioned before we started recording that you guys went to dinner. What'd you guys have? Where'd you guys go?
We went to a restaurant called Mia's Table. It's like it's got burgers and tacos and stuff like that, and there's a nice green area for the kids to run around in, so it was nice.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Kids can eat and run out their energy.
Yes, and they have free soft serve after you eat, so
What?
How
come pretty great.
What?
You can't have something like that.
It's pretty awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's like 20 degrees here and I'll still have an ice cream.
It was, it's not 20 here in Houston, but it was 50, so it was cold for us, but the kids still wanted ice cream, so.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of where, because you said Houston, right?
Yeah.
With my new job, when I start traveling again, which still might not be for a while, but my client's in Texas, so whenever I'm in Texas, I'll have to find you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to go to that place.
I'll find you.
I'll find you. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. This is Standard Definition, the Retro Nostalgia podcast here in the Boss Rush Network, where each and every Sunday, right? It is Sunday. We come together with our friends from around the internet to talk about games, movies, shows, and other topics that make us nostalgic. You can support us and get the show out 2 weeks early. 2 weeks, that's half a month, by heading over to our Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. Say that 5 times fast. Or subscribe on free feeds if you want to be late and lame. If you listen to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. I know, now I'm asking for a 5-star review. Just kidding. You're all the best, no matter if you're
Hey, lamos, leave us 5 stars or you're dead to us.
Yeah, before the door hits you on the way out, just can you say something nice about us?
We love you. I'm just being fresh. I don't know why. I just had a long day. You can catch all of our content on our YouTube channel and on bossrush.net. I'm getting better at this housekeeping stuff, Corey, except for the fact that I just insulted our listeners.
You did. That's fine. They don't care.
The
they
merch
like
store
it.
Yeah. The merch store is now open. Click on the store tab on our website to buy a variety of items with our show logos on them, which includes standard def, which we have a Disney version, in the font and everything. That's awesome. There's a Marvel themed standard definition design. And Corey, when's our Indiana Jones one?
It got rejected.
What?
The Indiana Jones one got rejected.
What?
But
Marvel and Disney?
Marvel did not, and Disney did not. Wow. Indiana Jones is not even a real font. It's literally a generic font that you can find on your computer right now.
That's bizarre.
I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe not Indiana Jones, but you'll definitely see a Disney and MCU style version of standard def, but you can also get merch with After Dark, Boss Rush Podcast, and much more. I gotta say, After Dark is still one of my most favorite designs, though.
Yeah, it's to be fair for the Indiana Jones one, I did I did just say Indiana Jones and the Standard Def review series. So I mean, I didn't write Standard Def. I wrote Indiana Jones, but that was probably where I got knocked. That's probably where I got knocked. It's fine.
Right, because we're just gonna steal so much money from.
I know the mouse. You can't get past the mouse, guys.
No,
he'll get you.
Anyway, tonight, what are we discussing tonight? Well, so far, as a recap, we've looked at Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, and then Dumbo. And keeping in theme with the kind of depressing, more seriously toned Disney movies, we will be discussing Bambi.
Bambi.
So let's ad-lib it. Well, I don't know if ad-lib's the right word, but like, what is our own 1 or 2 sentence summary of Bambi? I can go first. Bambi is kind of like a slice of life of cruel nature and just eerily similar to The Lion King, and I'll explain that later. Even though I know Lion King's based off of Hamlet, so it's not the same. But again, I'll explain why I thought of The Lion King later.
Bambi kind of sounds like Hamlet. It kind of feels like they're like. Yeah. I feel like if you watched Hamlet, there'd be a character named Bambi in Hamlet. That's all.
Yeah.
How would you guys describe Bambi?
I would say beautifully animated, but extremely boring. Like, I mean, coming off of Dumbo, right? This movie is like a masterpiece in animation, right? This really feels like Disney has like at least mastered the craft of even. This is like the first movie where there's like fully animated animals through the whole thing. Besides Dumbo, I guess, but like, you know what I mean? Like real, not. I don't know how I'm trying to say this, but like.
Real
Bambi's
life,
a deer,
like,
right? And he looks like a deer, right? And he's running
he
around.
Moves like a deer.
Yeah.
He's not a walking, talking mouse with a uniform.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So like, they really mastered the depth of field, camera precision. They like the water. There's a scene in this movie where there's some ducks splashing in the water and it's raining, and that is like one of the. Up to this point, that's like one of the most beautifully animated scenes I've seen in a Disney movie, right? It's so, like, the ducks are splashing, you can see the reflection in the water, but you can also see it raining, and the rain hitting the water, and making ripples, but you can still see the ducks splash. It's, like, it reminds me of, like, what they were trying to do with Fantasia, but a full-length film, and it was just, this movie is, like, incredibly animated.
Well, since you mentioned that, because I do feel like it's a gorgeous looking movie. It's one of its biggest strengths. And I was going to save this for like fun facts, but this is fine. Bambi was they used an oil painting technique, so I discovered that, and that's pretty cool. It was the first time Disney Pictures had used the oil painting technique. There's a quote from Disney himself stating, "There is a vast difference in the two techniques, but I was set in oil painting because of its quality. I figured oils would give a sheen to the forest and accentuate the depth." And I agree with Disney. I feel like that really worked.
It definitely does. And oil paintings kind of blend better also. You know, coming from like art school and stuff, we learn about different types of paints, and like acrylic and like the matte painting that they were using originally, like it works, like it's beautiful, but like oil paintings give it blends better, it shows lighting better, just because it gives a sheen. Like, you know, if you're painting a scene where sun is coming through, you can better depict where the sun is hitting using oil, just because of the way oil hits the canvas, right? Or in this case, the cell. So I mean, yeah, I can definitely see that.
How about you, Mark? How would you give the long and skinny of this to someone who's never seen it?
Yeah, I would say it reminded me a lot of Disney. Does a lot of Disney nature type movies now, where they're just like kind of documentaries. Like, I think Stephanie, you said slice of life. Like, it really is just like a nature film, and it's kind of like Disney was playing with a little bit of proof of concept of what would come later in Fantasia, with the marriage of music and action on screen, and like playing with just trying to depict something really realistic with animation. So Yeah, I think the way that y'all described it was great. A slice of life. We'll look at a deer's life. Really is really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't expect it to be a very long movie, which it wasn't. It wasn't really that much longer than Dumbo. The runtime is 70 minutes. So an hour and 10 minutes. Short movie. It was released August 9th of 1942. The budget was around $858,000 for its time. Now the box office figure I have, I believe it's cumulative, because I also think Bambi was not initially very successful, again, given the year that it was released on and all the world events. But I think cumulatively it made $267.4 million. So
Not shabby.
not shabby, but I
In a
think it was a
war year.
slow grower like Pinocchio was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it definitely feels like something that, I don't know. This movie is, I mean, there's some cute parts in this movie, right? Man, I don't understand, like, I guess it's the power of Disney, right? But I just don't understand how these movies are still considered like classics. And why, I mean, I do, like, I understand the importance of the animation and stuff, but like when you people talk about like the grand scheme of Disney, especially right now, right, with Encanto and Raya and the Last Dragon and like all these other like movies they've done over the last few years and last few decades, actually, right? Like, I don't understand how like Dumbo or Bambi or Snow White. I understand. I still think, like, spoilers for our rankings ahead, I still think like Snow White is probably the one that holds up the best out of all of these. But it's like I don't understand how like Bambi is like still considered one of the greatest Disney films of all time still. You know what I mean?
I think you have to consider like the time that it came out. Right now, we've got, I mean, Sing 2's in theaters right now. We've got all these different animated films, of which none are coming to my head, but there's all these, the marketplace is crowded with all of these really great animation studios, Pixar, DreamWorks. I can't think of any else right. Disney, obviously. And but this was few and far between. There weren't other animation studios right now. And I would think that kids going to the movies is such a big driver for families and stuff. And so I don't think there was anything else for kids to see. And so I think so many kids saw Bambi, whereas I don't think so many kids are seeing Sing 2 because there's a ton of other movies that they could be seeing right now and streaming and whatever. And so I just think it just gets locked in our subconscious, and then it becomes one of these really great things. If Bambi was released today, I think it would bomb and it wouldn't do well because it just is, the marketplace is so much more crowded, which is why, Dumbo is as beloved as it is. That's why, Bambi and Pinocchio and all of them, because they were the only ones when they came out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let me just use an example of video games where when games came out back in the day, not only did games come out less frequently, right? And we were younger, maybe we didn't have like our own income to splurge on all the games we wanted, and the graphics and the quality just weren't great because of its time. And then just nostalgia alone, or just the imprint it made for our generation as children, I don't know, it's become iconic. Like, but if you really look, and I wouldn't say it again, doesn't count Snow White, but when you look at most stuff like that, like when I rewatched Dumbo, like I was like, this really isn't as good as I had it imprinted on me. Kind of like when I went back to play Donkey Kong 64. I was obsessed with that game as a kid, and I held that so near and dear, and I thought it was such a classic. And I go back and play it, I'm like, I don't know how I went and tolerated all this. So I'm not calling Bambi garbage. I'm just saying, like, it's iconic. Despite, like, I agree, Mark, if that was released today, I don't think it would have done as well or stood out as much.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's another interesting fact. I don't know if you have this under like a trivia thing or anything, but this is also the Disney film that has the least amount of spoken words.
Yes. Yes. What's the figure? Like about 1,000 or less? Let's see.
I think it's
It,
like,
there are fewer than 900 words in the whole film.
yeah, which is like 900 words. That sounds like a lot, but also like 900 words can fill like what, a page, 2
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah, I wonder what like the average number of words in a major
Well,
film is. I'm gonna look that up.
and while you're doing that, I have my work in progress novel up, and I can just look at how many words are in one page ballpark. One page written 358 words.
Okay, yeah, so it's like 6. There's it's like 3
I mean, I guess
pages.
it makes sense because in the beginning, when Bambi was just born, he was just saying like a word, like bird,
Mhm.
bird. And I'm sorry, I had to laugh at whenever Bambi tried to speak for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I like the story, like how whether the movie's good or not, like whatever you think or not, like the movie is still incredibly animated. You know, when you see like all the deer in the forest watching, I think what Bambi's dad, I think is the character, right, and or the deer, the big like he struts with his chest out, and like there's a scene where he like looks at Bambi, right, and like he's like trying to pay attention, but like just ever so
I wish
slightly
people
his
could
ears.
just see Corey right now.
You can if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Boss Network. You can see me
Hey.
imitating,
Watch Corey imitating a deer.
like, but you can just like see his ears shift in just a little bit because he's paying attention, right? And that's like that's such a little detail, and there's a lot of little details in this movie that Dumbo definitely did not have, right? It's just this movie definitely, from an animation standpoint, is above every other movie I think they've done, in my opinion.
Since you mentioned, so we're just gonna go right into it. Like, at first, I'm like, okay, that's got to be his dad, because they don't blatantly say that is Bambi's dad. It's all implied, right?
Right, it's implied, but he's clearly like the leader
Yeah.
of the herd, right?
But like obviously, I knew better, but my knee-jerk reaction was that dad is such a jerk. He doesn't like go over and say hi to his son or play with him or say hi to the mommy. And then I realized, oh wait, they're animals. This is like precisely how they.
Probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, pretty accurate. But I was still mad. I'm like, he needs a father figure. Get in his life, you.
What's interesting? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's really interesting on how they studied animals for this movie in particular, and like all the other movies that use animals moving forward. Like they would go and like just sit in the woods and study these animals, or bring them into the studio and study and film them, and then study the film on how they walk and move and stuff.
Actually, more fun facts. There was 2 deer donated to the studio. I don't know what they did with the deer afterwards, but they donated 2 deer to the studio. So
I heard they ate pretty good at Disney Studios.
So can you believe it? Like, I actually think that's cool. Like, if I had to be, drawing something and I could like play with the deer, it's so cute.
Yeah, and it was a practice that they hadn't really done before, but now they do on every film. I mean, even not just with like animals, but like location. When they were doing Frozen, they went to Scandinavia or wherever, but they went Norway, right? Thank you. But they went to to go look at the fjords and to go look at how the snow interacted with the ground, and I mean, and it seems like ridiculous, right? Just animate a deer, but it just gives that level of more like realism. It makes it seem that much more better, and your mind notices those things when they don't move like they should, or when they don't act like they should. So I think it really helped, and it's cool that it kind of started with this film.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you can imagine, and we've touched on Disney himself being a perfectionist, love it or hate it, and remember, baby deer, like they have little spots on their backs, and I remember reading about how Disney was very adamant that the number of spots are consistent with every frame, and they have to be in the right position every time. Like, I would have ripped all my hair out if I was an animator for this movie.
Yeah. But what's funny is I was watching it and I was like, I'm going to pay attention to those number of spots, just because I felt like being, a stickler. And so I was like, surely they're not paying attention to that. And it's, I mean, frame by frame, they keep the same number of spots on his back. They keep the distance from his tail the same. Like it is, it's pretty meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I gotta give that credit.
Yeah. I was going to say, when we were talking about Bambi's dad, so there's a sequel, Bambi 2.
Bambi 2.
Which takes place actually in between, like in the middle of Bambi 1. And so right after Bambi's mother dies and his dad comes and takes him away, in the movie, it fast forwards to the spring, and Bambi's older. But in Bambi 2 picks up immediately in that scene where Bambi's dad comes and takes him, and then it just follows them that winter as Bambi learns how to be with his dad. And so when I watched this movie, I watched Bambi up until right after his mom died, and then I stopped and I watched Bambi 2.
Oh, cool.
And then I went back at the end of Bambi 2. I went back to the first Bambi. So it was like a 3-hour long movie. And Bambi 2 didn't get great reviews or anything. But it really, what was interesting was it shed a lot of light and gave a little bit more context to things that happened later on in the first Bambi. A big part of the plot, like later on in the first Bambi, after Bambi grows up and he sees that female deer that he was kind of playing with, and then another deer comes and they fight. In Bambi 2, that other deer is part of the story, and they kind of have this antagonistic relationship, and they're both kind of trying to become friends with this female deer, but the other deer's kind of a jerk, and so they fight, and it establishes this rivalry that then kind of just gives a little bit more drama to the fight that happens in Bambi 1. And Patrick Stewart plays Bambi's dad, so that was pretty cool. So it was a cool kind of experience to see how they actually connected together really well. And it made later parts of Bambi much more impactful, I thought.
Interesting. Even though the second movie didn't get great reviews, do you feel like if they inserted Bambi 2 into Bambi 1, obviously not the whole thing and revised, but basically executed the same purpose, like following Bambi with his father through the winter months, do you think that would have enhanced Bambi in itself as a whole?
I think so. And I mean, I'm interested they're making a live action Bambi the same way that they did Lion King and Jungle Book. And so I'm interested to see if they pull from that to kind of pad out the story a little bit more. But I mean, it's not critical to understand what's going on in Bambi 1. Like it doesn't, the Bambi 1 doesn't fall apart if you don't put those things in, but it was a kind of a cool exercise to, if you're like, don't have a life and are super nerdy about animation like me, it was fun. It was kind of cool to see how it continued on that story.
Wow, it really makes me want to do that. Just, I don't know if I really want to rewatch Bambi enough to do that, but
Right.
But no, that's cool. And I'm trying to picture what a live action Bambi will look like. I mean, I've seen the live action Lion King and they did a decent job, but I still have a hard time imagining real animals talking, like moving their mouths.
Yeah.
So.
I bet they did. The animals talked in Lion King.
Yeah.
Right. They talked in Lion King. I don't know how they're gonna do it. It seems like, I mean, the animals talking are not a big part. Like you said, there's not a lot of dialogue, so
True.
It seems like they could just really lean into the nature aspect of it, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens, but
yeah.
So, anyone have a favorite character in here? Because I already have my immediate favorite, right from the beginning of the movie, and it's Friend Owl.
Oh,
He's my favorite.
He's creepy. Friend Owl is creepy.
No, he's not creepy.
His just eyes.
Wants to sleep and be left alone.
And teach kids about hormones and their developing bodies.
I don't know. I just think he's funny.
I mean, I think Thumper is the clear winner in this movie. I don't know. I like Thumper.
Thumper, and then we got the other friend,
Flower.
Flower.
Yeah,
Flower.
Flower
Yeah.
the skunk. Yeah.
Honestly, my favorite character was Bambi. I I was kind of blown away by this movie this time around. I really loved it. I thought it was. I mean, I see the criticism that it's boring, and I agree there are parts of it that were boring, but I just thought there were so many things from an animations perspective that this movie just does so amazingly well. The weather systems and the music and I mean, everything is just really incredible. But the character of Bambi, like when he's learning how to speak, or when he starts playing with the female deer, and he's just so kind of, I don't know, it just kind of reminded me of like watching my son learn how to speak or my son learn how to walk. And I really loved the character of Bambi a lot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think like especially like the third act of the movie where they're all kind of like growing into themselves, right? As kind of like, I don't know, teenagers or kind of sort of adults, whatever. Like, I think it's really impressive the way that like there's this one scene where he gets caught in a tree, and like how that it's only like 10 or 15-second scene, but he's like struggling to get out of the tree, right? And then the female deer kind of walks up to him and kind of like calms him down, and then he gets out of it because he calms down, you know? I thought that was just like, it literally doesn't add anything to the movie except for like, oh, Bambi's clearly growing into himself and he's kind of clumsy, right? But it was also like a nice kind of showing of how like just like the animation kind of just gave him a little bit more character and gave her more character, because like I don't even really think they give you her name in this movie, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
I don't think so.
yeah. And then like right after that, when him and the other deer are like kind of fighting over her or whatever, and like just the lighting, the way that the light hits that scene, it's outstanding.
Very impactful.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It looks like it would stand up to most modern movies that try to do stuff like this, right? It's just it's really cool. It's got like this kind of blank background, and they're kind of silhouetted with just touches of blues and oranges and stuff, depending on if they're in the dark or the light. Like it's really well animated. I love it.
Yep. There's and it's not a main character by any means that I just actually felt uncomfortable for whatever reason, is when they were in like their teen years and they're like, oh, we're never gonna fall in love, and then one by one they meet their female counterpart. Is it me, or was the female bunny just like way super suggestive? Like she just came like,
oh yeah,
strutting toward like closer to the camera. Like I'm feeling uncomfortable. I feel like she's hitting on me.
she was definitely presenting herself to Thumper. I mean, but that's the way that rabbits work, right? I mean,
it's nature, man.
Sure.
That saying is not. I mean, there's a saying,
But well, there's not too many characters, but I think it works. I think it just goes along. I think it's just a very simple presentation, right? Like not a lot of dialogue, not a variety of characters, but the art direction and the music that goes with said art direction is what really gives this movie its identity. Of course, there's the real sad part with the mother dying. I thought it was going to be more traumatizing reliving that, but it wasn't so much because they don't really show it. But I can definitely feel the gravity of the situation and how scared and alone Bambi was.
Yeah.
And I just felt it was a very powerful moment. And I don't know if we want to get into this right now, but it made me think about one of the several themes, and one of them being, that maybe mankind, we can be a very dangerous and destructive force against nature. I mean, also later on, there's that fire that I think came from a campfire. So,
right.
It's I mean, the scene with Bambi's mom, like I feel like if you're a kid and watching this, it's way more impactful, right? I mean, because every kid is afraid of losing their mom or a parent, you know what I mean? And so, I think that's where the impact comes from. It's not even necessarily a long scene, right? Like he's just kind of lost and he's running, and then you hear the gunshot, right? And then it kind of kind of ends. And then
and I was surprised because nobody said that his mom died. I'm not saying that she didn't die. I'm
Yeah.
saying my memory of it was this really traumatic, impactful scene, which it was a very dramatic scene for sure. But his dad just shows up and says, you can't see your mother anymore, or your mother's not here anymore, something like that. Like, it wasn't, my memory was like, Bambi's like, you're dead, and like I remember seeing her body dead, and
like a Lion King type situation.
Yes, like that. Yes, and it wasn't that. So I too was kind of like surprised at what my memory of it was, and what it actually turned out to be.
I kind of had a similar memory, although I don't remember, like, I mean, like the Lion King, obviously Simba is like crying over Mufasa's body or whatever, right? But he was like talking and kind of saying what he was feeling, whereas my memory was like Bambi is just kind of like nuzzling his mom, and then his dad shows up and is like, she's not coming back or whatever, right? Like, it's very like, you don't even see her, which I totally just forgot. I mean, it's not like I'm watching Bambi every other weekend or something, right? But I mean, but like when I was growing up, like we had these movies on loop, and I just feel like I thought that was like a scene, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I did too. Right.
Maybe that's just like our minds, like we knew what happened, so that's just kind of what we remember more.
I guess.
Other than how it happened.
Right.
But since you mentioned Lion King, so this is why it reminded me of it, because Lion King's not a slice of life, but there's the whole concept of circle of life, right? In the beginning of the movie, they present Simba, blah, 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 father dies, end of movie, Simba is now having a kid that's getting raised over the rock, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in Bambi, you open up with the prince being born. Bambi's born to the mom. A parent dies. In this case, it's the mother. And at the end, Bambi grows into his own and has a kid in a very similar scene, except that Bambi's standing next to his dad, not being part of the kid's life. But anyway, but see how, like, I guess that just, it made me think of the Lion King because it was almost portraying circle of life before there was such thing as circle of life. So
I wonder, like, I know Lion King gets compared to Hamlet a lot, but I wonder how much Bambi inspired the Lion King as well, in a way.
Yeah.
Like, that would be fascinating to know. I mean, man, I wonder. This is like a 25-year ago thing, but like one of my teachers in like third grade, her daughter was one of the lead animators for Disney in the 90s.
What?
Really?
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and like I wonder, man, if I only knew what I knew then, like it was like she worked on Lion King and Aladdin and Pocahontas and.
How cool is that?
Yeah, she actually gave me a copy of her portfolio for Pocahontas. It's at my mom's house somewhere. So
maybe we need to find it for when we do that. That movie.
Yeah. But man, I wonder, like, I wonder if she's like still around and I could like ask her.
That'd be great.
Like for when we do Lion King, I guess that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like. I don't know why I just thought of that. Like, I probably should have been doing this the whole time. But, I wonder if I could, like, find her and reach out to her and be like, hey, haven't talked to you since I was, like, 8. You probably don't even remember me, but question for you.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, digging through, websites and stuff, I found that Disney's daughter, I guess her name's Diane, so Diane Disney, right? She actually, like, essentially begged her dad not to kill off the mother, but the dad said that's what happened in the book. Oh, yeah, side note, this was based off of a book, Bambi, A Life in the Woods, which makes sense, calling it a slice of life movie, but the book itself was actually intended for adults, which I guess makes sense. Let's see. It says, if audiences thought of the death of Bambi's mother was a bit harsh, they obviously haven't reviewed the source material. So in the book, Bambi's father shows him the corpse of a man who had been shot by his fellow hunter to show that humans weren't immortal. Yikes.
Neat.
Yikes. Why'd they cut that out of the movie?
I know.
That's
But
crazy.
Mark, didn't you say in a previous recording that was it Disney's mother who passed away, and he kind of had this thing where some sort of
Yeah.
parent figure always died in Disney movies, or at least
Yeah, he from the prophets from Snow White, he bought his parents a house, and then the house, the heater was broken or something, and so his mom died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Ugh.
And so then that's why I don't know if he said
Yeah.
if Disney was like every mom has to die, but I think if you
So
if
dark.
you look at his movies, that's why people think that's why, because he was grieving the loss of his mother. But a lot of Disney's movies are about like the innocence you have when you're a kid and how that gets lost, right? I mean, and so I think one way to really lose for a kid to grow up and lose their innocence is to lose a parent. So I think that has something to do with it too. It doesn't necessarily mean it's because Disney was like,
Yeah.
no one can have a mom, So
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of all over. Oh, you know what I didn't do, guys? I
Uh-oh.
didn't do my trivia.
Oh no, trivia time.
Trivia time.
let's do
Okay.
it.
This I hope this is a good one. The quote or phrase "man in the woods." I think that's the father said, like, "Man is in the woods," right? It actually had a double meaning. What was the other meaning? So the first meaning was literally like, "Man is in the woods hunting for deer. Watch out." Was the other meaning A, it signified the end of the workday, B, that man was a threat to nature and him slash themselves, C, that Walt Disney was coming, so shape up, or D, payday was coming?
I would like to think that payday is coming, but I doubt it. I would say it's Walt Disney is coming, so you better shape up. Man in the woods, like, bosses in the building.
Yeah, that's what I would say too.
Ding, ding, ding. You guys are correct.
Yeah.
So animators had that,
Yes.
and they would say it when Walt Disney was coming down the hallway, so stop slacking.
That's hilarious.
That is funny. Speaking of man is the number 20th. The American Film Institute has they do their like top 100 lists, and so their top 100 lists of movie villains. Man is listed as number 20.
Oh, really? Like man in
Yeah.
general, or man like from the movie?
No, man from the movie Bambi.
Wow.
Is number 20. Just incidentally, the evil queen from Snow White is number 10.
Okay. I mean, it's man, quote unquote, the hunter is, very generalized and obviously not detailed, but I do, maybe I'm just a tree hugging hippie, but I do appreciate the fact that, we have a destructive nature, not, maybe not every single one of us, but just generally speaking, because in real life there's deforestation happening, hunting, especially excessive hunting, like hunting for sport happens. I'm not targeting people because I know people hunt, but I don't know. It's just for whatever reason. I mean, how many movies have we seen where man has destroyed or is destroying? Like I think of Fern Gully. I think of Avatar. I mean, those are just not random non-Disney ones. I think this might have been one of the earliest types of animated movies that are very man versus nature, right? Like I can't think of
I mean, Pocahontas kind of is like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is man versus man, but
some of Don Bluth's movies were like that too, though. Fern Gully was like that for sure.
And I think movies like Fern Gully is a lot more on the nose, because I believe that when I was a kid and I saw Bambi, I did not think of man versus nature. I was just more like, oh, what a cute deer, and he's adorable, sliding on the ice, and then his mom died, and everything is sad. But growing up and seeing this, I do believe it does send a powerful message, but it's just a lot more abstract.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah. Have you? Speaking of like side tangent, have you watched on Disney Plus the Olaf, like where Olaf presents and he does like all the
Yes.
different. Every time I think of, like, we've been
No.
talking this whole time, and I just think of Olaf and when he does the Lion King one, he's like, his dad is dead.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. It. They're fantastic.
They are. I
Those
wish they were
little shorts
longer.
are really good. Right.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I don't really explore Disney Plus like I should. Like I just look up
It's
the main movies I want, not the side stuff.
Yeah, you should definitely watch the Olaf presents things, because like they're just like six little short things, but it's I don't know if you've seen Frozen 2 or not, but that scene in the woods where he's like describing what happens in the first movie for like 5 minutes, and like it's just that, but about other Disney movies.
Right.
The
Okay.
It's him retelling like classic Disney movies,
Yeah,
but like
Tangled
the
is funny.
'90s classic ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, what is it? Little Mermaid, Tangled, Moana, Lion King,
Aladdin.
Aladdin.
I think there's an Aladdin one.
I think there is too. I'm not 100% sure, but it's pretty funny.
Right.
The Tangled one is funny because he does Flynn's like smolder look. He's like,
Oh yes. Yeah.
but he looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, I'm definitely checking this out. Olaf's my favorite character of that movie anyway, so.
Oh yeah, by a mile.
Anywho, I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on, because other than that, I was just going to go with general impressions of the film. Did you guys have a favorite scene or anything you didn't like? And I'll just say that my favorite scene was, as I've just mentioned, when Bambi and Thumper are playing on the ice and in the snow.
Yeah,
Just very iconic for me.
yeah. That scene's definitely the most iconic, I think, from that whole movie. I mean, not only because it's really well animated and they're playful and stuff as kids, but also it leads into the mom dying scene. But I mean, I kind of like all the scenes when they're kind of pre-adults, to be honest. I think those are like just the animation and just, I don't know, watching kids grow into themselves is kind of like endearing in a way. No pun intended, I guess. But but you know, it's kind of fun just to see like, oh well, they're grown up and they're meeting their partners and they're going like, and then like the fight scene and the fire scene and the, you know, the him kind of standing over the way his dad did, right? Like that whole thing is kind of just like, I kind of forgot that there was that much of that in this movie. You know, it's kind of like the opposite of Dumbo. I thought that stuff was like the last like 5 minutes of the movie, and it's like almost half.
Right.
So,
my favorite parts. This is going to maybe be a kind of dorky, but I just loved. I think I said this already, but kind of how they depicted weather in the movie. Like the snow and I think Corey, you mentioned when it was raining, and not just the weather, but like how they also used not only the score, but the vocalizations to indicate different weather things. There's that April Shower song.
Yeah.
When it starts raining and the people are singing and it sounds like wind blowing.
Yeah.
And it's just like it was really, really smart and really well written music and lyrics and performances that just kind of made it feel real more than just this, like the sound of rain or the sound of wind. So those were my favorite parts. And then I think obviously I agree with you, Stephanie, the on the ice. I mean, that's just like when I think of Bambi, I think of Bambi learning how to walk and Bambi learning how to walk on the ice. So I like those scenes a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any particular part of the movie or anything about the movie that I dislike. Like I had my issues with Dumbo and whatnot, but I mean, if anything, it would be cool if we had more how do I say this? Like, well, when I say Disney songs, like obviously there was music there, but that was more like artsy, like you said, goes with the weather patterns, which fit perfectly. So I'm definitely not trying to say they should not have done that. And I don't think the movie is lacking because it didn't have traditional Disney songs. I just happened to miss it. But other than that, like I don't think there's anything I didn't like. I mean, it's just probably wasn't my favorite. But again, it's not because it had anything negative in there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think my biggest criticism is that it can be really slow at times. And if you go into it thinking, I want to watch a fun Disney movie, I don't really think that that's it. But I don't think that it was supposed to be a fun Disney movie. I think it was supposed to be kind of a slice of life, kind of a nature documentary. And so I think if you go into it looking with that mindset, yeah, then I don't think it's boring because you're watching like what a deer's life is like. So, but I mean that would be my biggest criticism, which is really a really small one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's anything bad about this movie at all. You think, I mean, like I said at the top of the show, you think of like the 90s renaissance of movies, or even like going back into the 80s, like Oliver and Company, and you just think of like the music and the pacing and the characters and like how purposely funny and talkative and stuff that they are, you know, it like there's always like the comedic relief, the villain, the wise old one, right? I mean, again, like Mark said, you have to look at a time and place where like the Disney was not making kids movies at the time. These were just impressive animated films that everybody could enjoy, or you know, should enjoy. And in the 40s, this was probably something really impressive that everybody loved, you know, just like Snow White, just like Pinocchio. You know, it's just an impressive film.
Right.
So.
Nice. Well, I mean, it's just, again, one of these other episodes where it's going to be a little on the shorter side, because unless there's any other closing comments or that you have to say about Bambi, we could probably start wrapping it up and take a look at our ranking.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. So, as a reminder, currently we have Pinocchio sitting on top at number 1. Snow White is at number 2, and poor little Dumbo, it's not because of his ears, is last at number 3. And now we kind of, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of debate necessarily. Where do we think Bambi fits with regards to, you know, quality and just a whole bunch of other factors?
Man, I definitely think it's better than Dumbo. I think I almost think from a quality perspective, it's probably. I mean, here's the thing. I think it's better than Pinocchio, but worse than Snow White. But those are flopped on our list, so I gotta really like think about it. But I think from just like a quality animation perspective and like almost a storytelling perspective, to be honest, it's probably one of the best ones. But just from like a watchability standpoint, it's probably. I mean. I'm not even gonna count Dumbo because that Dumbo is just bad. But out of like Snow White and Pinocchio and this, it's just it was the least fun, but probably quality wise, it's probably the best one, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, I think I can have the ability to say a movie is good and not like it. You know.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what I'm struggling with at the moment in terms of ranking it. It's definitely better than Dumbo.
Yeah. Sorry, Dumbo.
Yeah.
But I like Snow White a lot. Surprisingly, I don't know. I think Snow White is more fun, but I feel like Bambi is better in a way, almost.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like Snow White and Pinocchio are more iconic, at least as far as the way people remember things. But I don't know if I would really be influenced by that.
Yeah, but I mean, Bambi's iconic in its own way too. You know, I mean,
True.
It might be because I'm like, I used to be like nose deep into everything Disney the way I am about games and stuff. So like maybe more people talk about Bambi than normal. I don't know, but
keep in mind we're ranking like classic Disney movies. This is like trying to figure out a ranking like probably the worst of all the Disney movies is still better than
right.
I don't know lots of other average movies. So
yeah,
right.
I'm on our list.
All right, while Corey's talking to himself, Mark.
Yeah, somebody else talk.
I would say this is just my personal ranking. If we're ranking those four, I would say at the bottom of the list is Dumbo, and then next is Snow White, and then next is Bambi, and then I would say my favorite is Pinocchio.
Okay, I'm not just saying it, but that's kind of where I was leaning. But I am so hesitant to put it over Snow White. But that's
right.
But
I think I'm being swayed by Snow White being so iconic. But I think in terms of for me, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking which ones did I enjoy? What did I think had the greatest impact on Disney and animation as a whole? And so I just think I didn't really enjoy Snow White. I know that Snow White is important, but I just didn't really love it. So and Bambi was missing a little bit of the story elements that Pinocchio has.
Yeah.
So I don't think it can quite, for me, unseat Pinocchio. So I would think it would slide right in at number 2, which sounds bad that Snow White's at number 3, but that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, I enjoyed Snow White, I think, a lot more than maybe you guys did. But also, I think that this is a better quality movie in terms of, like I said, animation and just kind of what they were trying to do with it and the different art style and everything. I might slot this in at number 2 just for that, even though I enjoyed Snow White more.
Snow White is no longer the fairest one of all.
She's not.
Bad joke.
The queen will be so happy.
Well, then looks like we have a place for Bambi sitting at number 2 for now. So that's great. And the next time we come together to talk about Disney, we're going to start hitting, I wouldn't say more familiar titles because everything we talked about is very well known. But I don't know. I just feel like things are starting to change a little bit because the next movie is Cinderella.
Yeah.
1950. And if you look at the next run, it's Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan.
Okay, so we're heading into the first golden age, I think, of Disney films.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited. I'm excited for these next 3. I really like these next. I remember I dressed up for Peter Pan for Halloween, and then my mom swears I didn't take the costume off for 3 years.
Oh.
That's awesome.
That's what my mom says. We'll see. I don't know, but for sure. But I used to be obsessed with Peter Pan. I still love Peter Pan. Theoretically, I haven't watched it in a while, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. It was a great conversation about a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I guess as we close, thank you, listeners, for being here with us. And Corey, where can people find you?
You can find me at IamCoreyNHD on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast, and you can see me on Nintendo Pow Block, our Nintendo podcast. Yeah, as the time of recording, I'm returning tomorrow, so I'm very excited and ready for the next step of that show.
In the words of Rafiki, the king has returned.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, nicely done.
Mark, where can fans find you?
You can find me on Twitter. Acceptin Pereira is my username or handle or whatever it's called. And you can find me on Boss Rush writing articles and movie reviews and all that good stuff.
Your Uncharted review was very good.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't read that yet, by the way, only because I wasn't sure if it had spoilers in it. Does it have spoilers in it?
It does not have
spoilers. It's nothing that you don't already know.
Okay, then I'll go read it then. Right. That's the only reason why I haven't, because
right.
I do intend to see it, maybe this week. So
yeah. Okay. I think you'll have fun. I wouldn't go in with the highest of expectations.
No, I don't think I would either.
I mean, I wasn't going in with any expectations. So
Sure.
But then, okay, if that's the case, though, maybe I should wait till it comes to streaming. Anyway.
Well, I do think I know. Take this for what it's worth, but I do think so. I didn't review it very well, but I do think an action movie like this should be seen on a big screen, and so I think if you've got the time and you've got the means, I would go see it in theaters.
This is a good idea for like another run of standard definition would be like video game movies or video
That
game.
would be a rough one because they're not very good.
I know, but that's why it would be awesome.
Sonic.
Sonic was great.
Sonic was excellent.
Can I admit something to you guys?
Yeah.
Another sign of aging. The last few times I've been to the movies, like within the last 24 months, I kind of thought that the theater sound was too loud, and
oh yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, since when did I start complaining about how loud the movies are?
That's why I sit at home.
I saw Uncharted and I couldn't hear half the things that people were saying, but the action was too loud. And then we went to go see Death on the Nile a couple weeks ago, and someone had their phone out, and so I like the old man I am was like, put your phone up, like a grumpy old man. So
we've become those people, guys.
Yes.
I'm trying to like the last time I was at the theater, I went with my dad to see 007.
Yeah.
And then before that was Avengers Endgame.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
And then before that was Deadpool 2. Because that was the last
big gaps.
That was the last movie I think my wife and I saw before my daughter was born. So
yeah,
we saved a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's all coming to Disney Plus anyway.
Exactly, everything's just going to Disney Plus. But yeah, anyway, so and I am your host, Stephanie. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Klimov, KLIMOV_author. And I too am part of the Boss Rush podcast on Wednesday nights, and I do make regular appearances on After Dark, hosted by Laron. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.
See ya.